Every night, somewhere inside your walls, something is chewing. You set traps, you spread poison, and you spent money on devices that promised results. None of it lasted. But there is one plant that acts as a powerful natural deterrent to mice. It grows in a pot. It costs almost nothing. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what it is and how to use it to dramatically reinforce your home against pests. I am Harry, and this is Garden Explained. And today we are going back several hundred years to understand something that every farmer once knew and that almost no one alive today remembers. Picture a farmhouse in southern England sometime in the 1600s. Stone walls, thatched roof, a root cellar packed with potatoes and grain for winter. Mice should be everywhere. They are not. Walk around the foundation and you will notice something growing at every doorway. A low, dense plant with dark green leaves and square stems, deliberately placed where the wall meets the ground. This is not decoration. This is pest control. And every farmer's wife in the village knows exactly what it does and why it is there. Travel forward 100 years to colonial Pennsylvania. German settlers clearing new land, building new homes, facing the same rodent problem that has followed human civilization since the first grain stores in ancient Mesopotamia. These families did not carry traps across the Atlantic. They carried seeds, small pouches of dried herbs tucked between clothing and tools. Within the first growing season, those herbs went into the ground around every door frame, every window ledge, every gap in the log walls where something small might squeeze through. In the mountain villages of Japan, farm families bundled dried aromatic leaves and hung them near rice stores. In Korean households, sachets of crushed herbs sat inside grain jars. In the Mediterranean, Greek and Italian homes grew specific plants in terracotta pots along exterior walls. The same principle on every continent, the same result in every kitchen. Mice stayed away. None of these families read a research paper. None of them understood receptor pathways or volatile compounds. They understood something simpler. When this plant grows by the door, the mice do not come inside. When it does not grow there, they do. Knowledge survived empires. It survived plagues. It survived centuries of war and famine and migration. It did not survive the 1890s. In 1894, a man named William Hooker filed a patent in the United States for a spring-loaded snap trap. A simple device, a wooden base, a metal bar, a trigger plate. It cost pennies to manufacture, and it could be sold in every general store in America. The snap trap offered a definitive mechanical end to a household pest, something a doorway plant could never completely guarantee, but it could be packaged, shipped, and sold for profit. The plants could not. Within 2 decades, hardware stores across the country stocked snap traps on their shelves. Within 4 decades, chemical companies introduced anticoagulant rodenticides. Warfarin-based poisons entered the consumer market in the 1950s. The pellets worked slowly. A mouse ate the bait, wandered back into the wall, and bled internally for days. The product required constant repurchase. A box of poison lasts a few weeks, then you buy another box, and another and another. By the time your grandparents were raising children, the herb at the doorway was gone. Not because it stopped working, because nobody was selling it to them anymore. The knowledge skipped a generation, then it skipped another. Now most people alive today have never heard that a plant could keep mice away. They have only heard of traps and poison. That is a market. The global pest control industry today generates over $23 billion in annual revenue. That number covers everything from commercial extermination services to the glue traps you buy at the hardware store on a Saturday afternoon. The mouse and rat control segment alone accounts for billions. Snap traps, glue boards, bait stations, electronic traps, ultrasonic plug-in devices. Every product in that aisle shares one feature. You have to buy it again. Glue traps dry out and lose adhesion. Snap traps break or lose their spring tension. Poison bait gets consumed and must be replaced. Ultrasonic devices need electricity around the clock, and multiple studies have shown that mice adapt to the sound frequencies within days, rendering the devices useless. Every solution on that shelf is designed to be temporary. A temporary solution to a permanent problem is a subscription. Now here is what they do not put on the packaging. Anticoagulant rodenticides do not only kill mice. A poisoned mouse becomes slow and disoriented. It stumbles into the open. A barn owl sees easy prey. The owl eats the mouse. The poison transfers. The owl dies. This is called secondary poisoning, and it kills tens of thousands of raptors, hawks, foxes, and household cats and dogs every single year across North America and Europe. The poison you place behind your refrigerator may end up killing the owl nesting in the tree behind your house. The industry has known this for decades. The products remain on shelves because the products generate revenue. Now consider what a potted plant generates. Nothing. No repeat purchases, no replacement cartridges, no subscription fees, no quarterly earnings for shareholders. A plant that grows in a pot, returns every spring, and keeps mice out of your kitchen is economically invisible. It cannot be advertised because there is no margin in it. It cannot be researched at scale because no corporation will fund a study that makes their products unnecessary. Search any major medical database for rodenticide efficacy studies. You will find thousands, many of them funded directly by chemical manufacturers. Search that same database for botanical rodent repellent studies. You will find a fraction. The ratio is not explained by effectiveness, it is explained by funding. The money flows toward patentable solutions. A plant that anyone can grow in a $5 pot cannot be patented, so the research goes elsewhere, the knowledge stays buried, and you keep buying traps. The plant is peppermint, Mentha piperita, and the reason it works is not because mice dislike the smell, it is because the smell causes them physical pain. A mouse has over 1,200 olfactory receptor genes. You have roughly 400. A mouse experiences the world through scent the way you experience it through sight. Everything a mouse knows about its environment comes through its nose. Where the food is, where the predator is, where the safe path runs along the baseboard in the dark. That nose is the most sensitive instrument in the mouse's body. It is also the most vulnerable. Peppermint leaves and peppermint oil contain a compound called menthol. When you smell menthol, you feel a cool, tingling sensation. That is because menthol activates cold sensing receptors in your nasal tissue. The sensation is mild for you because your receptor density is low and your brain filters the signal. A mouse has no such luxury. At the concentrations a living peppermint plant produces, especially in an enclosed space like a doorway or a gap beside a pipe, the menthol hits those receptors with overwhelming force. While menthol triggers a cool sensation in humans, a mouse's incredibly dense olfactory system perceives it as an overwhelming, intense sensory overload. In an enclosed space, this irritation is powerful enough to make a foraging mouse choose a path of less resistance. The pain receptor fires, the brain registers danger, and the animal turns around. This is not a preference. This is a survival reflex, and it triggers every single time the mouse encounters that concentration of menthol at close range. While mice easily habituate to ultrasonic sounds, the intense aroma of pure menthol remains a constant sensory disincentive. However, unlike a physical burn from a hot stove, if a mouse is hungry enough, it can and will tolerate the scent to reach food. Now here is what you do with this information. Method 1. The potted plant barrier. While a living plant will not block a hole physically, placing bruised, fresh peppermint near potential entry points creates an active scent barrier that encourages mice to look elsewhere. One critical point. Do not plant peppermint directly in the ground unless you want it everywhere. This plant spreads through underground runners called rhizomes, and it does so aggressively. A single plant in open soil will colonize an entire garden bed within one season. The POT is not a limitation. The POT is the control strategy. Keep it contained, keep it at the entry point, and let it do its work. Peppermint is a perennial. In most climates across the United States, Europe, and temperate Asia, the plant dies back in winter and returns on its own every spring. You buy it once, you water it when the soil feels dry, you trim it back occasionally to encourage fresh growth because younger leaves contain higher concentrations of menthol than older ones. That is the entire maintenance requirement. One plant, one pot, years of rodent deterrence at each entry point. Method 2. The oil on cotton technique. This is for the places where a living plant cannot go: inside your walls, behind your stove, under your sink, inside the cabinet where you keep cereal boxes, inside the crawl space beneath your bathroom, anywhere indoors where you have seen droppings or heard scratching. Buy pure peppermint essential oil, not fragrance oil, not peppermint extract from the baking aisle, pure essential oil from the plant, Mentha piperita. The bottle will cost you between $8 and $15 and it will last months. Take a cotton ball or a cotton pad. Apply 10 to 15 drops of oil directly onto the cotton. Place that cotton ball at the suspected entry point or activity area, behind the refrigerator, along the baseboard where the wall meets the floor, inside the gap around the dryer vent hose, near the water heater closet. Anywhere a mouse has been, put a saturated cotton ball. The oil evaporates over time. Refresh each cotton ball every 10 to 14 days. In winter, when heating systems dry out indoor air, you may need to refresh weekly. In cooler, more humid spaces like basements and crawl spaces, the oil holds longer. Adjust based on what you observe. The strongest approach combines both methods. Living potted plants at every exterior entry point, creating a perimeter barrier. Oil-soaked cotton at every interior pathway, creating a secondary defense line inside the walls and cabinets. The mouse encounters menthol at the foundation and turns away. If it somehow finds an alternate route inside, it encounters menthol again at the interior gap and turns away a second time. Layered defense. No poison in the food chain. No dead mouse decomposing inside your wall. No owl dying in your backyard. The plant does not care that the pest control industry generates $23 billion a year. It does not care that no corporation benefits from your knowing this. It does not care that 3 generations of families bought traps and poison for a problem it solves by simply existing in a pot by the door. Peppermint has grown on this planet for thousands of years. It grew beside farmhouse doors in England before the Industrial Revolution. It grew in colonial American herb gardens before the patent office existed. It grew in monastery courtyards across medieval Europe, where monks documented its uses in manuscripts that still survive today. It is still growing. Right now, in nurseries and garden centers within 10 minutes of wherever you are sitting, a few dollars, one pot, a handful of cotton balls, and a small bottle of oil. That is the entire cost of solving a problem that an entire industry depends on you never solving. The knowledge was never hidden. It was just never profitable enough for anyone to remind you.